Welcome back to HR Simplified, the podcast where we break down HR in plain English. No jargons, no corporate buzzwords, just real talk about how people and organizations work. I'm your host, Dr. Omo, and today is our second episode. We are continuing on the series, What HR Actually Does. In episode one, we talked about the basics, policies, recruitment, employee relations, and all the other things people usually think HR is about. But today we are going to go a bit deeper, but still try to make it as simple as possible. We're talking today about HR as a strategic BP. Now, this confuses people when they hear us talk about HR and being a business partner. What does it mean? Why does it matter? How is the role of the BP evolving? How are we making organization better? I'll explain everything. I'll break it in simple everyday language with real examples. So let's get into it. But before we do, remember to subscribe, to comment, to share. This is your opportunity to also ask questions. If you have questions about human resource practice, this is your platform. Bring your questions, bring your suggestions. I got suggestions already on some topics that we are going to deal with in episode 3. Keep sharing, keep telling someone who may need it. Thank you. So what does strategic HR even mean? Let's try to break that down. When people hear strategic HR, they imagine HR sitting in a fancy boardroom or talking about KPIs or confusing dashboards. But in plain English, strategic HR means HR that helps the organization think ahead. So it's about answering questions like, do we have the right people for the future? Our team structured properly? What skills would we need next year, for example? What are the critical roles in our organization? What is our succession plan? How are we planning our workforce to be able to deliver on what we have? Are people leaving? If yes, why are they leaving? How do we stop our best hands from leaving? Because the truth is, people will always leave. There's no time that you'd have an organization that people are not leaving. But how do we stop the best hands from leaving? How do we limit the number of people that leave us? How do we support managers so they don't burn out? How do we help them to plan their work? So think of it this way. If operational HR is the one fixing a car, strategic HR is the journey planner. I can take that again. So the operational HR fixes the car, ensures the car is ready, the car is smooth, there's oil, there's water, there's fuel in the engine. Strategic HR is how we plan the journey. Where are we going? How long will it take us to get there? What do we need to do to get that journey? So that is the work of the strategic HR. Operational HRs deal with day-to-day basis and day-to-day issues, but strategic HR look beyond today to the bigger picture. They look to the bigger picture to be able to see what will happen in the future with HR. Let me try to give a simple example. If a hospital keep losing nurses, for example, operational HR will help to recruit replacement for those nurses. Strategic HR will ask, why are nurses leaving? What can we change to keep them from leaving? Do we need better shift patterns? Do we need more training? Do we need to redesign their roles? Do we need to be more flexible? So the job of the strategic HR is to prevent the problem before they happen, not put out the fire. So this is one of the major differences. While we are not underplaying the role of the operational HR, because we need to be able to run the organization from the day-to-day basis, on the day-to-day basis. the role of the strategic HR is to ensure that we are proactive in dealing with issues before they happen. So part of it is also advising senior leaders. So you're telling them not just what the policy says, but the risks. So if you remember in the first episode, I was talking about the fact that some organizations don't want to be compliant, and that put them at risk. It also puts their employees at risk. Now, this is the work of strategic HR to ensure that they are making decisions that are fair, that are legal, that is good for the business, and also good for the people there. I'll give you another example. I'll give you an example of that in advising. A manager wants to maybe restructure their team because performance is low and staff are not doing well. Operational HR will do the work of creating new CVs and new job descriptions, or new job description, not CV, sorry, for the department to be able to function. Strategic HR will say, is restructuring the risk solution. Have we done all that we're supposed to do to help those people? Is the issue a skills issue? Is it a workload and leadership issue? Because if it's a workload or leadership issue and we just change job description, the issue will still be there. What does the data say? How will this affect employee morale? Talking about the restructuring. What's the financial impact? So yes, HR is concerned about the finance of the business. We're concerned about the budget. In this, as a strategic HR business partner, a HRBP knows the business, every aspect of the business. It's not just concerned with, I'm a HR and I sit in my HR department and that's all that matters. No, they are concerned also with every aspect of the business, including finance, including budget. So strategic HRBPs help leaders to avoid costly mistakes by providing them with advice that guides their decision. So one of the ways that they are able to ensure that this advice that they give is authentic is by using data. So a lot of data analytics go into the role of a strategic HR business partner. It's not about guesswork. It's not, oh, okay, we think 10 people are leaving the organization. No. Okay, we think those leaving the organization are male. We think, no. What does the data say? How many people are leaving the organization? How many are men, for example? How many are women? If you're looking to maybe improve your diversity in your organization, data can help you. How many diverse staff do we have already? How can we attract, more diversity? So these are some of the questions that strategic HR will answer using data. So HR will not just say, oh, people are off sick. No, HR will say, certain percentage of people are off sick. And then the question is why? Is it stress? Is it workload? Is it poor management? Is it a culture issue? Why are people off sick? Why are people not motivated to come to work? Then strategic HR, based on the data available, will help leaders to get to the root cause of the matter, not just put a bandage over it, because sometimes some people, organization, prefer to put a bandage over the situation. Oh, okay, so people are leaving, or people are always getting off sick. Let's take them through the sickness and absence policy. Let's get them out of the system. You take one person out today, you bring another person in. As long as the culture, for example, is bad or toxic, the new person you've brought in will soon start going off sick. So in the long run, you've only applied a bandage. You've not gotten to the root cause. You've not dealt with the main issue why that problem is reoccurring. So strategic HR using data helps us to tell the truth about what the situation is. And, believe me, our leaders are not usually comfortable sometimes with this truth. It's behold on us as strategic HR people to be able to use our influence, to convince them, show them authenticity. Data don't lie. Show them the data and then proffer solution. Many leaders, CEOs, would like you if you're preferring solution. So it's not enough as a strategic HR business partner to show them the data, to show them the problem. You also have to be able to show solution, proffer solution, suggest solution. In fact, you have to show that you are proactive. You've seen that problem, you've planned ahead, and you have suggested solutions for the board. So when you are going there to present your data, it's not enough to just show the beautiful graph. You've created some really, really beautiful charts and all that, but without suggesting solutions. You should also have what the solution to the problem is before speaking to them, so that the root cause of the challenge is fixed. This is how we can use data to influence the situation. So let's look at, again, workforce planning. This is also part of the role of strategic HR. Remember, we're talking today about what HRBPs, the people we call the HR business partners, what do they do in our organization? What is their role? What does it mean to be a HRBP? We're talking about what HR actually does, or what HR does in organization. And remember, in episode 1, we've gone through some of the most of the operational role of HR. Today, we're talking about HR as a strategic partner, as a BP. So workforce planning, sometimes when you hear that language, it sounds complicated. It's workforce planning. Oh, I'm not a workforce planner. But in simple terms, remember, that's what this is about. We're breaking HR down into simple terms. In simple terms, it is ensuring that we have the right people with the right skills at the right time doing the right job in an organization. So I'll take that again. It is ensuring that we have the right people with the right skills at the right time doing the right jobs in our organization. Let's use a simple example to break this down. A council, for example, knows that 40% of its planners will retire in the next 5 years. What would a HRBP do? They will look at future demand for planners. They'll look at skill gaps that you have within that council. What is the level of skills that we have in terms of who can take over from this 40% of our workforce that is about to retire? They will create a recruitment pipeline. All right, so we have this A and B and C skills, but here is the gap that we need to fill. And for this gap that we need to fill, we're going to go out there and recruit for them. They will develop their internal talent. So it's not just recruiting. They will also get the people inside to see if there's training that can be given to them, if there's ways that they can be developed to also take over those positions that will, we're talking about 5 years. So this is what workforce planning is about. It's not waiting until when they retire, they will start running helter-skelter. No, it's making that future plan, for a succession plan, for a business plan, that will ensure that by that time we get to the 5 years, we already have people in place to take over from that 40% of our workforce that would be retiring. We can do this, develop our talents again, like I said, go through recruitment. You can go through apprenticeship, whatever ways that we can do it to ensure that we've got, the required talent based on the skills gap that we have. So that's another role for the HRBPs. Another one is change, managing change in organizations. So change is constant, and organizations are constantly evolving. As the world is evolving, you have things like restructures, you have mergers, you have new systems, new ways of working, and it is the work of HRBPs. We are talking strategic HR. That's what a HRBP is. So I'm using them interchangeably. Don't be confused. When I say HRBPs, I'm talking about strategic HR. It's the same thing. So they help organization to manage that change process, such that the people are not broken. Operations is also not broken. So there's smooth operation. There's also a smooth change with people. This means that, they have to plan ahead for that change, prepare the people also for the change, look at the human side of the change, how it will affect people. Let's look at a simple example to explain that. Maybe a hospital wants to introduce a new system, and this would be a digital system, so operational HR will do the work of training the people for the new system. Strategic HR will assess, number one, the impact on roles for this new system, identify who needs upskilling. So it's not just about throwing the training at them. Who needs upskilling? In what areas do they need upskilling? Some people might be faster, better at that new system than others. So they will also support managers to communicate the new strategy clearly, the new ways of working clearly. They will ensure that there's fairness and transparency. They will monitor the morale of employee and, how employees sees the use of, this new system. And they will ensure that, the people are not ignored. People are not ignored in the change process, because change fails when people feel that they've been ignored and they don't have ownership of the change process. So strategic HR makes sure that people are part of the journey. They walk the change, through together. One other role which strategic HR and HRBP is doing in an organization is coaching and supporting managers. Managers, as we know, are the heartbeat of any organization. I always say it that no matter how good your policies are in an organization, if you don't have managers that can trickle your good policies down to the employees, it's dead on arrival. It's as good as, you don't even have those policies existing. They are the middleman between organizations and the employees. So they need help. And strategic BPs help managers become better leaders. They coach them, they support them with difficult conversations, they support them through performance issues, team dynamics, conflict resolution, building confidence in themselves and their abilities as leaders, and also help them to understand people. Another role of the BP is, culture and engagement. And culture is how we do things in an organization. Just the simple, normal definition of the culture. But it's so big because the culture of your organization matters a lot. It's like the fertilizer that can help anything grow. So if you have a bad culture, you know what that means. So HR and strategic BPs, they help to shape culture by encouraging good leadership, promoting fairness, supporting well-being, improving communications and communication lines, listening to staff and staff issues, and ensuring that staff feels heard. It is the role of our strategic BPs to keep the organization honest, to ensure that our organizations are honest and truthful about what's going on. Here's a simple story that I used to explain HR, strategic HR in action. I'll just try to tell that story as quickly as I can. So we've got someone in an organization that had a high turnover, and managers thought people were leaving because of the money, but HR looked deeper. And when they did, the data showed that people were not leaving for the pay. They were leaving because of poor communication. They felt unsupported. They felt their well-being was being ignored. They didn't understand their career path. So what did the BPs do in that situation? What they did was to work with team managers to improve communication, to create development plans, to have PDPs, meetings, one-to-ones. They introduced mentoring. And in that organization, the turnover dropped by 40% within a year. That is how strategic HR works to support manager. Now, again, going back to what strategic HR is not, it is not about policing people. It's not about blocking decisions. HR is going to make this need to do as a manager, so I don't want to go tell them. No, it is not about enforcing rules blindly. It's not doing admin work all day. It's not being the bad cop. It is partnering. It is advising. It is analyzing. It is planning. It is supporting. It is influencing. It is about people and their performance. Remember again that HR is your friend, and we're here to support you. We are here to ensure that you can be your best at work and that you can give your best when you come to work. Thank you very much for joining us. Episode 3 will also be coming soon. Hopefully, you'll be here. Again, if you've not subscribed, kindly subscribe to our channel, share and tell your friends. If you're a student, you're a HR student, the next episode will be for you. We're going to talk about how you can get into HR, how you can become a HR officer, business partner, whatever role you're aspiring for. And we'll try to break down all the different roles in HR. So maybe you've heard of HR analysts, you've heard HR BPs, you've heard all those names, OD, you don't know what they are. Next episode, don't miss it. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. And remember to tell your friends to tell your friends. See you soon.